There are men who live quietly in the background, moving with purpose but never seeking the spotlight. And then there are those who, by fate or by love, find themselves tethered to public figures whose lives are lived under 1,000 camera flashes. Richard Lake is one of those men. For years, the Jamaican businessman walked a path carved out of enterprise and discipline, while his wife, Hanna, lit up the nation with her beauty, charisma, and political fire. Their story is as much about contrasts as it is about connection. The measured world of corporate ambition meeting the passionate world of politics and public life. But to understand Richard Lake today, the husband of a former Miss World turned cabinet minister, you must first roll back the years to his own beginning, a journey marked not by celebrity, but by focus, opportunity, and the quiet determination that makes a businessman endure. Richard Lake was born into a Jamaica that was changing. The island of the 1950s and 60s was a place caught between the weight of colonial legacies and the promise of independence. Families of ambition sought stability and prosperity through trade, farming, and enterprise. Lake's upbringing was firmly planted in this soil of industry. Though not one for flashy displays, he absorbed from an early age the values of hard work and accountability. He was educated at Campion College, one of Jamaica's most respected schools, known for molding sharp minds and instilling discipline. Education for him was not just a path to credentials, but a foundation for the order he would later demand in business. His teenage years unfolded in a Kingston that was vibrant with music, politics, and business movements. The days when reggae was rising, independence was still fresh, and entrepreneurial families were trying to shape their place in the island's economy. Richard's curiosity about how things worked, the flow of money, the structures of enterprise, the mechanics behind companies, naturally steered him toward business studies. He would go abroad, spending formative years sharpening his skills in finance and management before returning to Jamaica. That mix of local grounding and international polish gave him the quiet confidence to stand firm in the often turbulent Jamaican business climate. A man of enterprise, Lake carved his way into the world of business with both ambition and patience. While some chased quick fortunes, he understood that sustainable success was built brick by brick. Over the years, his portfolio expanded across real estate, construction, and investments, positioning him as one of the respected figures in Jamaica's corporate circles. He became deeply involved with Pan Jamaica Group Limited, a conglomerate with interests in everything from insurance to manufacturing. Here, his reputation as a strategist grew. Colleagues would describe him as reserved but decisive, a man who preferred results over rhetoric. Richard Lake wasn't the kind to dominate headlines, but his name carried weight in boardrooms. He also developed a keen understanding of land and property, two of Jamaica's most valuable and contested resources. Through various projects, he was part of shaping the infrastructure and landscape of Kingston and beyond. To the outside world, his moves seemed deliberate, careful, and precise. Unlike the flashy entrepreneurs who measured success in cars and parties, Lake measured his in long-term stakes and stability. And perhaps that quiet stability was part of what would later catch the eye of Hanna, a woman whose life was anything but quiet. If Richard Lake's early story was about business and discipline, Hanna's was one of beauty, performance, and politics. Born in 1975 in St. Mary, Jamaica, she grew up in a modest family before rising to global recognition as Miss World 1993, becoming only the third Jamaican to ever hold the crown. She was just 18 at the time, but her victory wasn't just about glamour, it was about national pride. While Lake was already entrenched in boardrooms and business strategy in those years, Hanna was parading across world stages, embodying Jamaica's cultural richness. Her life became an open book, written under headlines and spotlights, unlike the private spheres where Lake thrived. After her Miss World reign, Lisa pursued acting and broadcasting, before shifting gears to politics in the early 2000s. She aligned with the People's National Party, PNP, and quickly became a voice for youth and culture, eventually rising to the position of Minister of Youth and Culture from 2012 to 2016. Hanna was not just a pretty face. She was sharp, outspoken, and sometimes controversial, qualities that made her a natural magnet for both admiration and criticism. The path of love. Before Richard Lake entered her life, Lisa Hanna's romantic journey was already part of Jamaica's public conversation. In the late 1990s, she married David Panton, a Jamaican-born financier educated at Princeton and Harvard. The two seemed like a power couple, she with her international recognition and political potential, and he with his Wall Street polish and financial clout. But the marriage did not last. They divorced in the early 2000s after having a son together. The split was not without its ripples, as high-profile separations often carry whispers and speculations. For Hanna, the experience was both personal and public, shaping her resilience as a woman navigating the scrutiny of Jamaican society. In the years that followed, she focused heavily on her career and her role as a mother. Though rumors and speculations would often swirl around her, given her celebrity status, she largely kept her private relationships shielded. It was within this backdrop that she eventually crossed paths with Richard Lake, a man who in many ways was her opposite. It's easy to imagine the contrast when Lisa Hanna and Richard Lake first began to orbit each other. She, a national celebrity, known for her elegance, fiery speeches in Parliament, and magazine-worthy appearances. He, a seasoned businessman, older, more reserved, a figure of measured words and financial strategy. Their relationship, when it became public, drew curiosity. Some wondered how a woman as publicly dazzling as Lisa would pair with someone who avoided the limelight. But that was precisely the balance they seemed to find in each other. Where she brought color, charm, and visibility, he offered grounding, privacy, and an anchor away from the constant scrutiny of political and media circles. They married in 2017 in a private ceremony, choosing intimacy over spectacle. For Lisa, it was a second chance at love. For Richard, it was a partnership that blended worlds, her public one and his private one, building a life together. Richard Lake's life with Lisa Hanna has been one of mutual support. She has often spoken about how important it is to have someone who believes in you, and Richard has been that figure. When the demands of politics weighed heavily, whether through heated debates in Parliament or her sometimes controversial stances, he provided the quiet reassurance of stability. Their union also represented a merging of social worlds, the business elite and the political celebrity. Together, they embodied a kind of Jamaican power couple, though they preferred to carry the label with understatement rather than spectacle. Lake's mature demeanor contrasted Lisa's youthful energy, but the partnership worked. Their home life, though shielded from too much public view, reflected their shared love for Jamaica, family, and building legacies that went beyond personal gain. The businessman and the politician. Richard Lake never sought to overshadow his wife's public career. While Lisa was making speeches in Parliament, championing culture, and posting glamorous photos on social media, Richard kept to his enterprises. He continued to work with major companies, shaping investment decisions and guiding projects that contributed to Jamaica's growth. Yet, even if he remained quiet, his influence was never small. His wealth and networks placed him among the island's influential figures, and his partnership with Hanna naturally positioned them as a couple with both economic and political weight. What fascinated the public, however, wasn't just their influence. It was the dynamic of their personalities. People who knew them often said they balanced each other perfectly. She added fire to his cool, and he added calm to her storm. Please subscribe for more.